Hey, I'm Bruce Peck, and I'm with SelectBraces.com, and we are the company helping you figure out and sort out your online reputation as an orthodontist. Today, I want to talk about this quote and kind of its implications for you as an orthodontist and with your practice and with building it up. So, Albert Einstein said once, "Seek not to be a man or woman of success, but rather to become a man of value." So it's this idea of creating value first, and then the success will come. And so if you haven't yet, before we get into this today, go on to selectbraces.com, make your free profile, and start getting reviews and people back, like building your online presence on today. It's a free profile, and again, that's at selectbraces.com. So we're going to talk about three different things today. So three different psychological principles that back up this idea that you've got to give first, you've got to give value first, and then the success, the growth of your business and everything else will follow after that. So let's talk about this first one. And this sounds pretty fancy, and so you can go and you can tell people today that you know the norm of reciprocity. The norm of reciprocity. Essentially, it's the idea that people return benefits for benefits. And I've got two different examples of this that I think are really, really interesting and that you're going to like. So, in 1974, Philip Kuntz, who's a sociologist, he mailed 600 Christmas cards to strangers. So he just took a picture, like you've seen the Christmas cards, you probably have one of them hanging up on your fridge, of just like some guy with his family or whatever. So he made one of those and then he sent it out to 600 people. What's crazy is that 200 people, 200 complete strangers, sent him a card back of their family and a Christmas card. So what was going on there? That is the principle of reciprocity. So it's he put out a card and like it's like, oh wow, we got a card from this person. It's like, well, I feel like I've got to put it, I've got to send them one back. And so like, why does this matter for your practice, or why does this matter for what you're doing? Well, it's because you can if you give first, if you give value like that first, you're going to get things in return because this is ingrained in how we think and how we do things. So here's a second one. I think this one's interesting, and it's a famous study. But what they did is they had a waiter give so they had a control group of what a waiter would normally get when they got tips. And then they had three different other cases that they used, and so this is stuff that you can kind of think about and use with your own practice. So the first group, the waiter gave mints, and then just made no comment. So like, oh, here's a mint, and or just didn't even say anything. The tips increased by 3%. The second group, they brought out 2 mints, and they asked, would anyone like some mints? So they're kind of like making a point, like, hey, yeah, would anyone like some mints? So like, kind of went out and did this. So then tips increased by 14%. And then finally, they brought out mints, and then a short time later, they came back and gave them more mints, and they said, they made a point that they went back and they got the mints for them. You know, they just kind of said something to that effect. And that increased their tips by 21%. So, just by going and showing that they went out of their way to get somebody something, so like, oh hey, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna go grab these for you, it increased their tips by 21%. So that's the principle of reciprocity. That's the principle of personalizing things, so that each person feels like you're going out of your way, and you're going out of your way to help people, and then they're willing to reward people for that. So that's the first one, the principle of reciprocity. The second one that I think is interesting of why giving massive value comes before success is because it's the only sustainable way to capture it. And let me tell you what I mean. So Google, so like right here, if you see this right here, so this is like the value that Google releases, right? Like it's astronomical. Like being able to sort through the world's information to be able to figure out like, I don't know, self-diagnosis, or like being able to read like a bunch of blog articles, learn how to do things. Like the value that's released is crazy, crazy high. But they're only asking really for like this much of that value. You know, like we all get to search for free, we get to do all this different stuff, but all they're really asking is just for a little bit of value. So it's really like there has to be a ton of value to be able to capture it. And I feel like this maxim is true. How much people love your business or your practice is equal to the value that you provide them. So if you think about the companies that you love, like, why do you love them? It's like, well, because they're very, very valuable for you. They're very helpful to you in your life. So the more helpful your practice can become for your patients, the more you can give to them, and the better you can do that, the more that they'll love you, the more that they'll be willing to support and be loyal to your practice. So this is an example of won't ever work. And sometimes people expect this to be how it is with marketing, and it's just not that way. It's like value release, it's like, well, what's the minimum I can actually do, and then, like, how much can I capture of this nothing? It's like, you can't, I mean, a huge piece of a pie that doesn't exist is still, nothing. Like, it just doesn't work. So you've got to make sure that the value that you're giving out there, the service, the experience, everything about what you're doing as an orthodontist is creating huge value for the people, and then you'll have no problem with this. So number 3, and so this is the final one, but I think this one is one of the most important ones, is that it's with word of mouth, because people talk about remarkable things. So if you go out and you build something and you give a ton of value to people are going to talk about it. Because if you think about, like, what is your favorite brand? What is the favorite company that you've had? What's the favorite experience that you've had? I don't know. Yeah, with anything. How many people have you told about that? How many people did you go out and say, like, hey, this is this? We don't talk about the mundane or the boring or the trivial. We talk about those things which are most interesting, which are really, really engaging. So if you go and you build and you give a ton and you give so much that it's remarkable, that people's experiences are really, truly remarkable, they're going to remark about them to others. So that's our Facebook Live today. We are on at 12 Eastern on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Generally, this week we're going to be on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But if you've got any questions, feel free to shoot me an email at bruce@selectbraces.com. Or leave them in the comments here. And remember, you can always like and share this as well. Thanks for coming on today. We'll see you again tomorrow. So have a good one.